You wake each morning with the unshakable certainty that you exist. The same you who went to sleep, who brushed teeth, who worried about tomorrow's meeting. This felt sense of continuity seems as solid as the floor beneath your feet, as reliable as sunrise. But stop, right now, and face this question. Where is this you that you're so certain about? Is it behind your eyes, looking out? In your chest, feeling emotions? Perhaps distributed throughout your body, experiencing sensations. When you reach for it directly, something curious happens. The harder you grasp, the more elusive it becomes, like trying to capture your own shadow. The ancient Buddhist teacher Nagarjuna understood this paradox intimately. He spoke of the self as neither existent nor non-existent, but as something far more mysterious, a dynamic process masquerading as a fixed entity. Modern neuroscience echoes this insight with startling precision. When researchers scan the brain looking for the neural correlate of self, they find not a single location, but a distributed network firing in constant conversation, what neuroscientist Antonio Damasio calls the autobiographical self, a story being written and rewritten moment by moment. Your sense of being a continuous person is actually more like watching a movie. Each frame appears static, but their rapid succession creates the illusion of movement, of narrative flow. The self, it seems, is cinema, a masterpiece of biological storytelling so convincing that even the storyteller believes the tale. But if you are not who you think you are, then who or what is doing the thinking? Consider this moment right now. You're hearing these words, perhaps sitting in a chair, aware of thoughts flowing through your mind like water through a stream. There's a compelling sense that somewhere behind it all, you are observing, a witness to the show of experience. This observer seems fundamental. It's the one constant in an ever-changing parade of sensations, emotions, and thoughts. But here lies one of consciousness's most beautiful paradoxes. When you turn to examine this observer directly, it vanishes like mist. The 18th century Scottish philosopher David Hume discovered this centuries before neuroscience confirmed it. When he introspected carefully, searching for the self that seemed to be having his experiences, he found only a bundle or collection of different perceptions, which succeed each other with an inconceivable rapidity, and are in a perpetual flux and movement. No observer, only observing. Zen master Huang Po taught that seeking the mind with the mind is like trying to bite your own teeth. The very act of looking for the observer creates the illusion of separation between seeker and sought. Yet, something profound happens in this looking, a recognition that awareness itself needs no observer to witness it. Like the sun illuminating the world while requiring no external light source, consciousness is self-revealing, self-aware, empty of any central command. Modern neuroscience supports this counterintuitive insight. Studies of meditation practitioners show that as contemplative practice deepens, activity in the brain's default mode network, the neural substrate of self-referential thinking, begins to quiet. What emerges is not unconsciousness, but a kind of pure awareness without center, without boundaries. If there is no observer, what is it that remains aware of this absence? You reach for your coffee cup. Your hand moves exactly as intended. The illusion of control feels complete, doesn't it? You decided to reach, and your body obeyed. The commander issued orders. The machinery complied. But neuroscientist Benjamin Libet's famous experiments revealed something unsettling. Brain activity indicating movement begins several hundred milliseconds before people report being aware of their intention to move. The decision seems to make itself, with consciousness arriving fashionably late to take credit. This isn't about free will versus determinism. That's yesterday's conversation. It's about recognizing the deeper mystery of how actions arise. Like bubbles emerging from the depths of champagne, intentions surface from the unconscious depths of neural processing into the bright space of awareness, fully formed and claiming ownership. The Taoist sage Zhuangzi captured this beautifully in his parable of the butcher who carves an ox. The master butcher's knife glides effortlessly through the carcass, finding the natural spaces between bones and joints. He doesn't force, he follows. His skill has transcended conscious control to become wu wei, effortless action in harmony with the natural flow of things. Perhaps this is closer to how all action truly occurs, not through the tyranny of a central controller, but through the seamless dance of countless processes coordinating without a choreographer. Your neurons fire, your muscles contract, your coffee cup rises to your lips. Not because you made it happen, but because the entire system is oriented toward that outcome. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer observed that a man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants. The wanting itself arises unbidden, like weather in the sky of consciousness. If control is an illusion, what is it that guides the spontaneous dance of being? Look around you. Tables, walls, trees beyond the window. A world of distinct objects occupying separate spaces. Your skin marks the boundary between inner and outer, self and world. Or does it? Consider your body. Where do you end and the world begins? Your lungs extract oxygen from air that a moment ago was outside you, now intimate with your bloodstream. Water flows through you like a river, constituting most of your being, before returning to the world. The atoms in your hand were forged in the heart of ancient stars, temporarily organized into the pattern you call your body, destined to continue their cosmic journey long after this particular arrangement dissolves. The boundaries are more porous than they appear. Quantum physics reveals an even stranger picture. At the fundamental level, particles don't have definite properties until observed. The act of measurement doesn't just reveal reality, it participates in creating it. As physicist Werner Heisenberg noted, what we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning. The ancient Vedantic teaching of Advaita points to the same recognition. The apparent multiplicity of objects and beings is Maya, not illusion exactly, but more like the way a single ocean appears as countless waves. Each wave seems separate, with its own identity and lifespan, yet never is anything other than the ocean itself playing at division. Your experience right now is not of being a separate consciousness looking out at an external world. It's more like being a localized intensification of the universe becoming conscious of itself, the way a whirlpool is both distinct from and inseparable from the river that forms it. If separation is a perceptual construction, what remains when the boundaries dissolve? Everything you can perceive is changing. Your thoughts flow and dissolve. Your emotions rise and fade. Your body regenerates every cell over 7 years. Even your memories shift and reshape each time you recall them, like songs changing slightly with each performance. Yet something in you rebels against this truth. You cling to experiences, relationships, identities, as if holding tightly could make the temporary permanent. The Buddha called this tanha, the thirst that drives all suffering. Not the changes themselves, but the resistance to change. Watch a river sometime. Notice how the water never stops flowing, yet the river maintains its essential character. The banks remain. The The general direction continues, but the actual substance is in constant renewal. This is impermanence, not destruction, but dynamic stability. Not emptiness, but fullness expressing itself through endless transformation. Alan Watts, the philosopher who bridged Eastern wisdom and Western psychology, spoke of life as music rather than a journey. A journey aims for a destination. The sooner you arrive, the better. Music exists for its own sake. Each note matters not because it leads to the final chord, but because it participates in the whole symphony. Your life, from this perspective, is not something you have, but something you are. A unique melody being played by the cosmos, temporary and irreplaceable. The sadness you feel contemplating impermanence might actually be the universe grieving its own transience through your awareness. If nothing lasts, what gives existence meaning? Here's the ultimate puzzle. If you already are what you're seeking, why does the search feel so necessary? If awareness is your deepest nature, why do you feel separate from it? If the self is illusory, who is trying to wake up? The seeking itself is the trap, and also the path. Like someone frantically searching for glasses while wearing them, the very act of looking creates the sense of distance from what is always already present. Yet without the search, would there be recognition? The Zen tradition speaks of original enlightenment, the understanding that awakening isn't something you achieve, but something you already are. The great teacher Dogen taught that practice and enlightenment are one continuous activity, like polishing a mirror that was never truly tarnished. This creates a beautiful paradox. You can't find what you're looking for because you are what you're looking for. But the looking itself gradually wears away the very sense of seeker and sought, until only the looking remains, aware, open, empty of agenda. The contemporary teacher Rupert Spira describes it as consciousness recognizing its own nature. The screen doesn't need to find the movie needs to recognize it is the screen. All experiences, thoughts, sensations, perceptions, are temporary modifications of awareness itself, like waves on the ocean or clouds in an empty sky. If seeking and finding collapse into the same movement, what remains when even the search ends? And so we return to where we began. This moment, watching these images unfold, aware of awareness itself. Not aware of something, but aware as awareness. Not experiencing consciousness, but being the very capacity in which all experience appears. This awareness that you are, so intimate that you usually overlook it, so obvious that it seems invisible, this is what remains constant through every change. It was present when you were 5 years old, present now, and will be present in whatever form consciousness takes tomorrow, not as a thing, but as the very space of being itself. The great teachings all point here, to the recognition that what you fundamentally are is not a separate self having conscious experiences, but consciousness itself, temporarily appearing as a human being. Not the wave thinking it separate from the ocean, but the ocean playing at being a wave. This isn't a conclusion to understand, but a reality to recognize. Like suddenly seeing the forest instead of just the trees, or hearing silence instead of just sounds. It's a shift in identity so subtle yet profound that it changes everything while changing nothing. The ancient texts called it moksha, liberation. Not freedom from the world, but freedom as the world. Not escape from the human experience, but recognition of what the human experience actually is. Consciousness dancing as form, awareness playing hide and seek with itself. Right now, in this very moment, the seeking can end. Not because you've found something new, but because you've recognized what you've always been. The silent witness, not watching from a distance, but being the very intimacy of this present experience. What remains when the last question dissolves into the silence from which all questions arise? In the end, there is no end, only the eternal beginning of now. Recognizing itself in the mirror of awareness, smiling at its own cosmic game of forgetfulness and remembrance, separation and unity, question and answer, dissolving into the wordless understanding that was never truly lost.